G'day all, number one Machop fan here with another episode of Machop's Musings. I've actually noticed as of late a lot of similarities between the Alola region coming up in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon and the Orange Islands from way back in seasons 2 and 3 of the anime. So I decided to dedicate this episode of Machop's Musings to those two regions, exploring their similarities and what they could mean for the future in the Pokemon games. First of all is a pretty obvious one. Both are archipelagos. An archipelago is basically a group of islands, and there have actually been quite a few in the Pokemon series in the past. Not just the Alola and the Orange Islands, but also the Sevi Islands from Fire Red and Leaf Green, and the Hoenn region. Hoenn may mostly be one big island, but the rest of the Hoenn region, about half of it at least, is actually an archipelago, and you could even count that big island itself as an archipelago because it's pretty much detached from any other landmass. You'd think, though, that Game Freak and Nintendo would have learned from IGN, who gave Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which featured the Hoenn region, a measly 7.8 out of 10, one of their reasons being, and I quote, "too much water." Yet here we are with Sun and Moon, and even more water. IGN will not be impressed. Second of all, both regions have 4 challenges, and no, to our knowledge, standard gyms as we know gyms. The Alola region has its island challenges, with its totem Pokemon at the end, and all these other tasks you have to complete in them that generally don't involve Pokemon battles. While the Orange Islands have their unconventional gyms, only a handful of which involve actually battling. Namely, Phase 2 of Trovita Island's gym challenge, and the completely unoriginal double battle at Kumquat Island. Although, it's not really that unoriginal. If you think about it, Kumquat Island is the only gym, to our knowledge, that actually has a proper double battle. The Sootopolis gym, if you think back in the anime, did have a double battle in it, but not for its entire thing. It had a double battle and it had a single battle. Also, Moss Deep. That was more a multi-battle, but it was you as one player versus 2 trainers, and wasn't really a double battle per se. The other 2 gyms at Naval Island and Mycon Island did not have battles at all, but had different kinds of challenges where Pokemon competed against each other. Different again to Alola's island challenges, but not unheard of. I don't think of it, actually reminds me of the Pokeathlon, I think it was called, back in Johto in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where Pokemon compete with each other in something other than actually battling. Could be a similar kind of thing, just more one-on-one. Thirdly, both have unique tropical climates that actually change how the Pokemon look compared to how we're used to them. Alola is a lot more drastic because, as you know, you've got Alolan forms, which in many cases actually change the Pokemon's type. Like you've got Ice-type Sandslash, Ice-type Ninetales, Dragon-type Exeggutor, most famously, Psychic-type Raichu, and so on. Whereas in the Orange Island, it's pretty much just aesthetic. Furthermore, it's mostly just Valencia Island itself that has this drastically different tropical climate. But you'll notice that the entire Orange Archipelago had Butterfree that looked different, had different wing patterns to what we're used to. We're used to just plain white wings on a Butterfree, but the Butterfree of the Orange Islands had tan with red spots on them. Interestingly about the Orange Island's head professor, Professor Ivy, she actually does research into these very changes. You'd think maybe she could do a lot of work in Alola because of all the different changes there. And speaking of that kind of thing as well, she'd probably do a lot of research on Shellos and Gastrodon, who we already knew before Sun and Moon look different between different regions. Like East Sinnoh, West Sinnoh have different forms of Shellos. And I often imagine if we were to see Shellos again, or Gastrodon, or both, then in another region, then I keep imagining they could end up being, say, red and yellow as a colour scheme. Could be possible if you got pink and brown in water. Lastly, both archipelagos have 4 islands that have legendary guardians. The Orange Islands, these islands and their legendary Pokemon were revealed in the second Pokemon movie, The Power of One. You had Fire Island, guarded by Moltres, Ice Island, guarded by Articuno, Lightning Island, guarded by Zapdos, and Shamuti Island, which had heavy involvement with Lugia. And there is something very similar, but a lot more significant, in Alola, with Melemela Island, where Tapu Koko is guardian, Akala Island, and 2 other islands whose names at time of recording are unknown. Tapu Koko is at this stage the only such guardian we know of, but we expect more could be revealed soon. I'd also like to know how Zygarde fits into all of it. Would Zygarde be another island guardian, or would it be something more? So, that's the end of my discussion of similarities, but there's something else I want to discuss involving the Orange Islands and their connection with the Alola region. This is majorly speculation, but I have a feeling there is potential for a Pokemon Yellow remake. Pokemon Thunder Yellow. Think about it. The original Pokemon Yellow was heavily anime-based. You have a Pikachu following you, Jessie and James encounter you a number of times, kind of thing. Its remake could be anime-based. And as such, after you beat the Elite Four, as you know, in Yellow, the only post-game you had was the search for Mewtwo at Cerulean Cave, but you could go beyond that. You could actually travel to the Orange Islands as a post-game region, and then collect 4 more badges as part of their island challenges. Just like how you could get up to a total of 16 badges in Gold, Silver, Crystal, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, thanks to post-game. So could you in a Yellow remake. Now, you may be arguing about the Sevi Islands, unless you read ahead, and how they could technically clash with the Orange Islands geographically. Actually, they wouldn't. According to Bulbapedia, the Sevi Islands are based far south of Kanto. But if you look at the map of the Orange Islands from the beginning of this presentation, you'll notice that the Orange Islands are actually not that far south of the Kanto region. So the Orange Archipelago could be between Kanto and the Sevi Islands. And you could even expand on that. After you've gotten your 4 badges from the Orange Islands, and then beaten Drake, after that there could be like a post game, and you could then visit the Sevi Islands. Who knows? Who knows what kind of imagination or ideas Game Freak has in store for the future. But I do often wonder if maybe they're going to remake Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, etc. into the future. Only time will tell, and I unfortunately can't learn Future Sight. But stay tuned. If this Thunder Yellow does come to fruition, believe you me, I'm doing another Machop's Musings about it. See you next time.